It's 3 a.m. I'm in my bed. I should be asleep, but I'm awake. I'm awake because there's a man in my bed, and he's not supposed to be there. Well, I mean, like, he was supposed to be there when the sex was happening, but now the sex is over, and he's asleep, and I'm awake. He knows the rules. No sleepovers. I told him no sleepovers because I'm a bad co-sleeper, and that is the truth, but it's not the whole truth. Now I'm laying awake, going through all my memories of other times that I couldn't get to sleep because someone was in my bed. It actually started when I was a little girl. I would go to bed every night cradling my favorite doll, and because I wanted to look adorable like the little girls in the TV commercials, but then I would feel smothered. So I would put her beside me with her head on the pillow and close my eyes and think, that's still cute, right? But she was touching me. So I would put her on her side of the bed and then close my eyes, try to get to sleep, and within a minute I would just shove her off the bed. And when I would hear that sweet thud, I could finally get back to sleep. So yeah, I'm a bad co-sleeper, that is the truth. It's not the whole truth, but this guy can't be here in the morning. He can't be here in the morning because I don't trust myself with a man. I don't trust myself to not make the same mistakes that I made with the last one. Because the last time a man slept in my bed, it was my husband. And I lay awake that night staring into the darkness, and I caught myself calculating how long he might live. And would I be young enough to still enjoy sex? Because there hadn't been much of it lately. Oh, sure, everything started out great, as most things do in our marriage, but slowly over time, somehow I managed to become both the mommy and the daddy in the relationship. I was making the money because he was finding himself. And I was also doing most of the cooking and cleaning because apparently no one ever found themselves doing the dishes. This was not a sexy arrangement. First it made me cranky, then it made me crazy, and then it turned me into someone who lays awake at night, staring into the darkness, looking on the bright side of someone else's death. Thankfully by morning I remembered we have divorce so that we don't kill each other, and I packed my bags and I left. I left knowing two things. In my next relationship, I wanted to have lots of sex, lots of good, lasting sex. And I also knew that I didn't want to cook and clean for a man again, maybe never. But now this guy is in my bed and he can't be here in the morning. Because in the morning, people want things. They need things like coffee and food, and I fell down the slippery slope of domesticity once before, and I don't trust myself to not do it again. Oh, it starts out all innocent. You know, first you're offering them one hot beverage, and before you know it, you are down at the river pounding their dirty socks on a rock. Okay, today it is a slice of toast, and tomorrow you are single-handedly responsible for preparing Christmas dinner for their entire family. This is how it works. I needed a zero-tolerance policy. But right now, it's morning, and my only option is to run away. So I slip quietly off the bed and start putting on my running clothes. He wakes up. He's surprised to find himself here. He knows the rules. Oh my God, I must have fallen asleep. I'm so sorry. Are you actually going for a run right now? Yeah, I am. And then he says it, right on cue. Do you have any coffee? I stare at him, he stares back. I just turn and walk out of the room. I go to the kitchen. He follows me in there a moment later, and he finds me just staring at the kitchen cupboards with the intensity of a woman preparing to defuse a bomb. He says, "What is happening here?" And I turn and look him in the eye and I say, I have something very important to tell you about myself. Oh, finally, he says, good. Are you a werewolf, a vampire? Is that why I'm never allowed to stay overnight? The more I do things for you, like make you coffee and food, the less sex we are going to have. He's just standing there and I can tell he's trying to find a place in his man brain to file this thing that no woman has ever said before. And finally, he says, what about pointing? Can you point at things and we can still have sex? Yeah, I said. Okay then, sit down and start pointing.
So there I was in the bathroom of West Middle School, holding a pair of scissors. I was there to collect a sample of pubic hair due to my foolish assertion to the kids outside that I too had gone through those changes expected of a 13-year-old boy. So I sat there weighing my limited options. The blue threads of my sweater didn't seem like they were gonna cut it. And so I cut a tuft of hair from behind my ear and rubbed that baby soft, conditioned brown hair between my fingers to coarsen it. They'll never know, I thought. They knew. Thankfully, middle school was almost over. After collecting several of those, "Dude, you better grow over the summer" quotes in my yearbook, I got the hell out of there. I was looking forward to that last summer before high school. A summer with my twin brother, Steve. Steve and I were inseparable, best friends, roommates. Sure, he was taller than me, but that's normal for fraternal twins, Mom said. Later that summer, as I started up the staircase, I froze as I watched my naked twin move from the bathroom to the bedroom. Is that black hair? I asked. I stared into his black abyss. A black hole that enveloped my dream of a shared journey, pubescent journey. I asked again, but I already knew the answer. Is that black hair? Steve looked down at himself, admiring himself, looked back at me, and responded as you might expect a teen would. Yes! Tears streamed down my face. I was devastated. I was bald. That started a very long and lonely summer. There was one highlight, and it came when I sank a magnificent hook shot during the last game of the YMCA basketball summer season. The teammates rushed the court, hoisted me up on their shoulders, and the other team stood there stunned. Not because of my shot, but because they were up by 25 points, and it was the middle of the third quarter. We were celebrating the first and last points of my short basketball career. At the end of that summer, perhaps to get ready for high school, or to get the ball rolling, or maybe the balls rolling, I masturbated for the first time after reading a steamy scene in John Grisham's bestseller, The Firm. 10 years later, I was thriving in California. PhD student, I had a beautiful blonde ex-surf instructor girlfriend, and wanting to show off my new lifestyle to my twin and his new fiance, I invited them on a road trip down the California coast. I booked us into a natural hot springs experience at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur. Once we arrived, we somehow got in different dressing rooms. And I looked around at all the European couples and hippie lovers in my changing room, taking all their clothes off and not putting on bathing suits, which were optional. So I weighed my options. And God damn it, I was not gonna be the only prude to put a bathing suit on. So I strutted out of that room naked and froze when I saw my brother and his fiancée soaking in their suits. They stared. Now, there was a common trend unknown to me at this time for men of my generation called manscaping. And my brother stared into my black abyss. And he looked up at me and asked, "Oh my God, Kevin, what the fuck? Is that black hair?" I looked down and admired myself, looked at him, and responded in the only way I learned how. Yes!
Me again. Yes, I do have a reason why those two should not be wed. And I know what you're thinking. It's Julia Roberts, Britney Spears, and now me. Another high-strung bitch goes psycho when she loses her boyfriend to someone younger and prettier. Tabloid headline: evil stepsister tries to sabotage wedding of Cinderella and Prince Charming. Let me remind you, the media isn't exactly accurate. Now, my mom and I, we're used to working 6 days a week of overtime to try to get somewhere other than canned food and homemade clothes. They call us bitches, evil witches. Why? Because we refuse to take no from anyone? The glass ceiling is a little lower. We've got to be a little louder. It's what women have to do. Cinderella. Now she's something else. In her brand name jeans, always whining for a new iPhone and complaining about how mom yells at her to clean the house. When Cindy refused to get a job, mom made a rule that if she's going to be at home all day, she has got to do all the cooking and all the cleaning while we're at work. So of course she was grounded. While mom and I were working off our asses all week, Cindy hadn't even cleaned the bathroom. She hadn't even done anything but take selfies of herself sprawled provocatively across mom's couch. It's not like she really has a social life. I mean, really. Unless you count her, like her 3,000 Instagram followers. And Jasmine, that weird drunk lady next door. Cindy calls Jasmine fairy godmother because she gives Cindy wine and cigarettes. On the night of that party where my boyfriend was playing music under the name DJ Prince Charming, Cindy was at home grounded with a long list of chores to do, so of course she sat around drinking wine and chain smoking with Jasmine. Predictable. And Cindy wanted to sneak out to the party, but she had nothing to wear. Then Jasmine found my new dress and said, "Well, why not wear this?" And she didn't have any dress shoes, only sneakers and loafers. Then Jasmine pointed out the transparent high heels in our china cabinet. And she didn't have any transportation. Then Jasmine mentioned the Honda in the driveway, which of course was the car that me and my boyfriend had just bought. So at the party, I noticed he was kind of staring off over my shoulder. And there she was, wearing my dress and those shoes from the china cabinet, all pouting lip and back arched like she knew someone was taking her picture. And they all crowded around her. She knows how to rest her hand on a man's arm and breathe too hard when she speaks. She knows how to work her cleavage like a machine for grinding man meat. He spent the rest of the evening draped all over her, hanging on her every word, even though she has nothing intelligent to say. And what could I say? Without looking like the bitch, the witch, the evil stepsister trying to come between a good man and his love at first sight. So of course she rushed out the door at midnight, leaving one shoe caught in the carpet by the door. She had to get home before Daddy realized she'd been gone. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you've lost a lover to some dumb jock with a dimpled smile. Ladies, I know you understand. It's just another story about a girl who has nothing to offer, stealing a man who means everything. When he and his buddies came around with that lost shoe, trying to find the foot that fitted, he couldn't quite look me in the eye. But still, I tried. And that's another thing the media got wrong. They're not glass slippers. They're a plastic dancing trophy that I won. Look at the inscription on the bottom of that shoe. That shoe has my name on it. Still, I tried. I cut my toe off. I cut the back of my heel off, and damn it, that shoe fit, though by God, it hurt to stand. But then Cindy starts freaking out, shrieking, blood, oh my God, blood, there's blood everywhere. And he rips his shoe off my foot, and the paparazzi start snapping photos, and everything goes to hell. And guess what, Cindy girl? Women bleed. It's what we do. Enjoy the show.
The call came out of the blue and caught me totally off guard. I was at home doing laundry on a Sunday afternoon in my apartment in East End, Toronto, and I had a pile of dirty clothes under one arm as I answered the phone. Good afternoon, my name is Francine Turnbull, and I'm a reporter for the Toronto Star. May I please speak to Mr. Mark Laborde? Speaking. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Laborde, but could you tell me, did you graduate from Hollycrest Secondary School in 1983? Yes, I did, I answered warily. What's this about? Why are you calling me? She told me she was working on a story about suspected high-level insider trading amongst 3 prominent Toronto businessmen. She had a hunch they'd all been high school buddies together, and she wanted to prove that the bond they shared in high school had endured through to adulthood and had provided the basis for their illegal financial dealings. She knew they'd all gone to Hollycrest, so she was trying to track down some of their classmates to see if there was any evidence of their friendship in the grad yearbook. Having had a mostly miserable experience at Hollycrest, I had tried for years to blot out any memories of my time there, and hearing the stranger dredge it up now was causing my stomach to tighten into knots. So when I heard the buzzer from the dryer, I told her I wasn't interested in hearing anymore, and I didn't think I still had my yearbook anyway, and I didn't see how I could help her, and I really, really, really needed to get back to my laundry. I was just about to hang up the phone when I heard her say the name, Adam Novak. No freaking way, I thought to myself. I snapped the receiver back to my ear. Wait, are you saying that Adam Novak is one of these shady financial wheeler dealers you're trying to go after? Yeah, she said. Novak and his 2 buddies, Eric Rossland and Steve Nasello. From what I've been able to find, Novak was the main culprit, but Rossland and Nasello are in this up to their necks too. I just need to prove that their connection started in high school, and we can take our evidence to the Ontario Securities Commission, who are currently investigating all 3 of them for insider trading, among other offenses. But I wasn't really listening again. The mention of Adam Novak had sent me spiraling back headlong into my painful memories of schoolyard bullying at the hands of Novak, Rossland, Nasello, and their gang of asshole jock hyenas. They had ruled our school with their unrelenting campaign of vicious persecution of any boys who weren't as athletic as they were, or as popular as they were, or as rich as they were. On any given day, the spotlight of their cruelty would randomly focus on a new victim, and then would just as randomly swivel to target some new victim, for no discernible reason other than to satisfy their capricious desire for fresh meat. I'd somehow managed to avoid them in grade 9, but in grade 10, they turned their spotlight onto me when I dared to join the junior boys basketball team. Rather than welcome me onto the team, they singled me out right away because even though I could play basketball pretty well, I clearly wasn't one of them. Instead, I was a quiet, artsy academic type who actually played the viola in the school orchestra. Nerd alert, music geek alert, target in sight, fresh meat, activate weapon systems. As with most bullies, they had an uncanny ability to zero in on the smallest imperfection or quirk in their chosen victim, which they would amplify 1,000-fold in their joyful mockery. The first thing they quickly latched onto with me was this habit I had back then of absent-mindedly twirling some locks of my shoulder-length hair around my ears. When the coach wasn't looking, they liked to parade around the court during practice. Novak, always the lead hyena with the rest of the pack following close behind, each of them twirling their hair around their ears while looking seductively at me, grabbing their crotches, making wolf whistles, and then breaking into howling fits of laughter. Hilarious. The humiliation was unbearable, and that was just one example of many. I was too shy to ever say or do anything about this cruel torment at the time, but my hatred for Novak and his moronic gang of spineless shitweasels burned white-hot inside me for years. Hearing his name again now brought all those repressed feelings of rage and humiliation rushing to the surface again as I stood there gripping the phone with one hand and my unwashed laundry with the other. "I'll do it," I told her. Half an hour later, after turning my attic upside down in a frantic search, I climbed triumphantly down the ladder with my grad yearbook in hand, placed it on the kitchen table, and opened it to the first page. My jaw dropped. Unbelievable. There on the title page itself was a color photo of the three of them in expensive designer suits, smiling arm in arm out on the football field by the goalpost. My exhilaration increased exponentially when I quickly found several other photos of the three of them together at the Halloween dance, at a Jell-O eating contest, and in the official photo for the senior boys football team, where they were giving each other headlocks in front of the rest of the team. I couldn't believe my luck. These photos were pure gold. My heart pounding, I was on the phone to Francine within seconds. She was thrilled to hear my news, and she arranged for a taxi to come by my place within the hour to pick up the yearbook and deliver it to her at the Toronto Star office downtown. Later, as I stood by my front window, watching the taxi drive away with my yearbook sitting on the passenger seat in its place of honor, I felt a troubling twinge of self-doubt. Was I making a huge mistake getting entangled in all this? I had a sudden powerful impulse to call back the taxi and forget the whole thing. But as I picked up the phone, I pictured again that photo of the three of them in their fancy suits by the goalpost, grinning as if they owned the world, and my anger surged up again. I suddenly realized that what irked me the most about that photo was its placement on the title page. As if it was universally accepted that they were the most important students in the school, and thus were deserving of having their photo be the one that anyone would see when opening the yearbook. That same sense of apex predator entitlement had obviously encouraged them to believe they could break the law with impunity as adults. So why shouldn't I try to help bring them down? Nope, no regrets. Fuck them and their mansions and their daddy's BMWs they drove to school. For better or worse, I'd just thrown a boulder into this scummy pond, and there was no way to stop those ripples from flowing outward now. I put the phone down. 2 weeks later, Francine called and told me to check the business section of that day's Toronto Star. I rushed to the corner store to buy a coffee, and there it was, right on the front page, that goalpost photo along with the headline, "Insider trading charges against 3 Toronto businessmen traced back to high school sports connection." Giddy with excitement, I read the article 3 times, my smile growing bigger each time. "Karma's a bitch, isn't it, Adam?" I yelled out to the empty street. A sudden wave of pent-up emotions came roiling up inside me, and I closed my eyes, too late to stop a small ripple of tears from trickling down my cheeks. I wiped them away and turned to walk home. Before long, I was surprised to find myself whistling. As I rounded the corner of my building, I felt a spring in my step, and my hand absent-mindedly reached up to twirl the invisible locks of my long vanished hair. Thank you.